For the last couple of years, I've been singing the praises of this guy, the Hellcat Pro. You know, it really does have so many of the things that I feel are important to have with a carry gun, and that's why it's become my #1 concealed carry gun. What if you're on a budget though? And sure, I realize that the Hellcat Pro isn't the most expensive gun out there. At the same time, there's a lot of people out there looking to spend a little bit less and still get all of those great feature sets that make the Hellcat Pro such a great carry gun. That, my friends, is where the GX4 Carry comes in. That's the topic of today's video. It is going to be Hellcat Pro versus GX4 Carry. Now, before I throw everything in the van, head on up to the shooting spot and get this party started, do me a favor. Drop down below, hit that like button. If you're not already subscribed, make sure to subscribe and leave a little comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Will this GX4 Carry really stand up next to the Hellcat Pro? Are there any benefits or drawbacks to going with the Taurus over the Springfield? I'll tell you this much, we're about to get down to the bottom of it. All right, you guys, let's start with mags. So we all know that the Glock 19 is probably the most popular carry gun that there is, hands down. That gun comes with 15 round mags, and I believe that 15 rounds should be the standard. Now, I'm not a Glock guy, I prefer M&Ps, so for you M&P guys, the M&P 2.0, the 4-inch, it's the same gun. You get those 15 round mags. Same with both the GX4 Carry and the Hellcat Pro. They both come with 15 round mags, which is great. You have all kinds of other guns out there that are smaller, things like the standard GX4 or the smaller sized Hellcat, or for Smith & Wesson guys, you have the M&P Shield. Those guns have a lower capacity, and not only do they have a lower capacity, but they have that shorter grip, supposedly to aid in concealment. I do have a Smith & Wesson Shield. I bought it, I carried it, I hate it. It sits in the back of my gun safe and collects dust. Now that shorter grip on the M&P Shield, or the Smith & Wesson Shield, it doesn't make that much of a difference when it comes to concealment. I'm not getting that much more printing with this Hellcat Pro than I am, you know, with something the size of the Shield. What I am getting with the Hellcat Pro is room for all of my fingers. I don't have to have a pinky extension on a magazine in order to have a place for my pinky, which is a big win. I don't have to break my grip or worry about you know, a magazine getting snagged or blocked by my hand when I go to insert it. I have so much more control and ability to mitigate recoil because I actually have a good firm grip with all of my fingers on the Hellcat Pro. The same can be said for the GX4 Carry. So this gun is roughly the same size. Now the shape of the grip is a little bit different. I can get a much deeper grip on it than I can with the Hellcat Pro. And to be honest, when it comes to the grip, I actually feel like the grip texture and shape of the GX4 Carry is more comfortable for me personally. Of course, that's going to vary from person to person, but I actually do prefer the GX4 Carry to the Hellcat Pro when it comes to grip. The other advantage with the GX4 Carry to the Hellcat Pro, grip-wise, is that it does have a handful of different size and shape backstraps, so you can somewhat customize it to your own personal taste. So for me, in the grip department, GX4 Carry wins so far. Next, we can move on to the trigger. Now, Here we have the Hellcat Pro. Obviously this isn't a stock Hellcat Pro. This guy has the Apex Type 3 trigger in it, and it has it in there because I found the Hellcat Pro trigger to be incredibly uncomfortable. I would go to the range and I would shoot a couple hundred rounds and the corner of my finger would get eaten into, I'd almost get a blister on there. There are people out there that will say, oh, comfort for your trigger doesn't matter when you're, using it in a self-defense situation. Now, I'm going to go on record here as saying that is one of the most ridiculous statements that I've ever heard on the internet, hands down. If you're carrying a gun, you should be training with it. You should be training with it often and frequently. And most people, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, aren't training enough, not just with live fire training, but the dry fire training at home as well. If you are out training frequently enough, you're going to notice that it is uncomfortable and that the trigger is eating into your finger. For a lot of people, that's going to create issues. They're not going to want to train as often as they should be. There's going to be, hesitation in their trigger pull while at the range shooting. It's going to create inconsistencies with that trigger pull and with your overall accuracy. So that in itself is enough to swap over to an Apex trigger for the Hellcat Pro. Now, as far as lightening a trigger pull, I don't necessarily think most people need that. In fact, I would say probably 99% of people should just stick with the standard trigger weight and just change out that trigger shoe. On the other hand, we have the Taurus GX4 Carry here, and I've found that this trigger is incredibly comfortable. It actually feels like an aftermarket trigger when it comes to not just the trigger pull, but the way that my finger interfaces with the trigger. Now, there isn't a lot of aftermarket support for this gun, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But if there were an aftermarket trigger available for this gun readily, I don't know that I would change it. I actually like the trigger on the GX4 Carry. Now, it could be a little bit smoother of a trigger pull. I would prefer it to be just a hair lighter than what it is, but straight out of the box, the trigger on the GX4 Carry is better than what the Hellcat Pro is. Both of these guns are 3.7-inch barrels and roughly 1 inch thick. There is a trend these days where people want to go shorter on their barrel length and shorter on their grip length, and I don't really feel like that's a positive in concealment for concealed carry. The shorter that your muzzle length gets, the more that your gun is going to want to tip forward while carrying it, and it's doing that because of the ratio of weight and material above the belt line versus below it. Yes, there are ways to mitigate that. You can go ahead and use, different holster wedges and things, but I feel like 3.7 to 4 inches for a barrel length is pretty much the perfect length for a carry gun. The other thing is that 1 inch thickness of both the GX4 Carry and the Hellcat Pro keeps it nice and slim and tucked up to the body. There's not a lot of girth to go ahead and stand out when concealing. I definitely notice a difference when carrying either of these guns versus something like my M&P 2.0. It's considerably thicker than both of these guns, and these are more comfortable to carry and they conceal a hell of a lot better. Both the Hellcat Pro and the GX4 Carry have a rail up front for different accessories like weapon mounted light. Now, I know a lot of people don't believe in, bulking up their concealed carry gun with a weapon mounted light, but it's nice to have that option if you choose to use it. We can debate back and forth about the merits of using a weapon mounted light on your gun, but at the end of the day, you should be able to mount one to your gun if you choose to do so. One area where the Hellcat Pro beats the GX4 Carry is optics. So every Hellcat Pro comes optic ready. You don't have to buy an optic ready version. All of them are optic ready. Again, like the weapon mounted light, regardless of whether or not you want to use an optic, it's there. You can use it if you choose to, or you can go ahead and use the iron sights. Not so much with the GX4 Carry. With the GX4 Carry, you have to buy their Toro version, which is the optic ready version of the gun. I would prefer, if like the Hellcat Pro, if all of the GX4 Carries came optic ready. Honestly, it's about to be 2025. I don't understand why any gun these days would not come optic ready. This is kind of the evolution of sighting systems, and having that as a standard is something all guns should have. As far as reliability goes, the Hellcat Pro, obviously I have 2 of them. Neither of them are stock anymore. One I have like 15,000 rounds through. The other, I think I have like 8,000. I've never had an issue with either of my Hellcat Pros. They've ran really well. Obviously, that's why I own 2 of them, and I'm picking a 3rd one up this week. Spoiler alert. They're great guns. They run well, they're reliable. Now, as far as this Taurus goes, Taurus has had kind of a bad name. They don't make top shelf guns, okay? They are, I don't want to say entry level, but they are cheaper guns. In fact, this gun is going to set you back about $150 less than what a Hellcat Pro will. There have been, in the past, issues with quality control with Taurus. I don't feel that's a proper representation of what Taurus is doing right now with this GX4 series. I bought this gun used, actually from a viewer. He had a couple 100 rounds through it. I bought it from him, and I think I'm at like 3,000 rounds through this gun currently. I bring it up here and I shoot it every once in a while. Not as often as I should, because I do carry the Hellcat Pro pretty much all the time, so I shoot that one a lot. But I put enough rounds through this GX4 Carry that I can comfortably say, confidently say, that I trust the reliability of this gun. Right now, I think Taurus is doing a pretty good job of making a good product at a good price, and if I wasn't so comfortable with the Hellcat Pro, I would carry this daily. I would. In fact, I know a couple of people who swear by the Taurus guns, that carry them every single day and trust them with their lives. As far as accuracy goes between these 2 guns, the Taurus GX4 Carry stacks up neck and neck with the Hellcat Pro. I haven't seen any deviation in accuracy that would lead me to believe that it is anything but accurate. One disadvantage to the GX4 Carry that I can see is aftermarket support. So first off, when it comes to holsters, everybody makes a holster for the Hellcat Pro. For this guy here, the GX4 Carry, a lot of people do make holsters for them, so that's not a big deal. It's all the other stuff. So you have like Lakeline LLC, which is somewhat local to me. It's like a 2-hour drive from here. They make barrels and spring kits and different things for it, but you're not really going to find any aftermarket triggers. Right now, there's not a big selection of things like, you know, mag extensions and mag wells. There are some small companies that are working on things for this gun, but it's not as mainstream as something like the Hellcat Pro. I don't necessarily see that as a big deal though. This gun is made for a different type of gun user than what the Hellcat Pro is. The GX4 Carry is essentially for, I don't know, I don't want to say beginners, but people who aren't into doing all of the extra stuff that you would do with the Hellcat Pro. Most of the people that are buying the GX4 Carry aren't looking for things like apex triggers and extended mag releases and all the nifty doodads and gizmos that we do with other guns. The Taurus is a good firearm. It's just not necessarily used in the same way that a Hellcat Pro is. It's different. I don't know that it's better, it's just different. And when it comes to kind of a versus, Hellcat Pro versus GX4 Carry, they're neck and neck. And the one distinguishing factor is that aftermarket support. Other than that, all of the features, all of the usage, it's all neck and neck. There's really not much difference between the two guns when it comes to these things. The other big difference, of course, is the price. Taurus GX4 Carry is going to come in about $150 less than what the Hellcat Pro is. That means you're going to have money for all of the things that you may need, whether you want to put an optic on it, or you want to spend $150 on ammo, or whatever the case may be. You're going to have a little extra money in your pocket if you buy a GX4 Carry. At the end of the day, I think that both of these guns are a good choice for a carry gun. They both check off all of the boxes that I think are important for a gun that you want to carry daily. It really boils down to two things. Do you want to spend that extra $150 to buy a Hellcat Pro? And is it important to you to have all of that aftermarket support that you get with a gun like the Hellcat Pro? If you want to save a little money, and if you're not really too worried about buying all the extra stuff, then you know what? GX4 Carry is a fine gun to own. That's all I got today, guys. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put some rounds down range. I got a couple hours here before I got to head home. It is Thanksgiving Day. I'm recording this, so I got to get cooking. You know what? Stay safe out there. Get your training in. Have a good time. I'll see you back here real soon.